What about my love? Wasn't it enough? Just let me know.
Darian Porter, cornerback from Iowa State. This is someone who I was keeping an eye on going into the Senior Bowl because of his athletic ability and his build. He has incredible length and height for a corner, and he was pretty locked down for Iowa State this past year. So I had some high expectations for him. It's not too common that you see corners with the arm length and the height that he has. Just a lot of teams really like that at corner. To have a guy with, the reach that he has, the height that he has to match up with, some of these elite athletes at wide receiver, or some of these guys who also are, athletic freaks who have these, massive builds, these tall receivers with long arms. You want to be able to combat that with corners who have the same length, the same height. And Porter was pretty ideal for that. Unfortunately, his days in practice just weren't great. He was struggling to keep up with his guys in man coverage and the one-on-ones, and he was just kind of getting picked on at times. And it wasn't the performance I wanted to see from him. I still think that he could be. I still think he's going to be a day 2 pick, frankly, because of his intangibles, the things that you can't teach. I think that there's going to be a coaching staff out there that sees this kid and is like, yes, I can work with what you got and I can develop you into an elite player. So because of his intangibles, I don't think his draft stock was hurt too much, but this is a guy who really had a lot to gain from this past week, and I don't think he did that. So I guess maybe my expectations were pretty high, and from that, right, he fell. But I still think that he's going to be a day 2 guy. I just wish he could have done something more, because he's got the tools, right? He's been gifted with elite size.
It seemed like all the DBs that were there just weren't what I expected them to be over the last couple of years. So I think I'm gonna keep on with the same train here, and I think you guys may be a little surprised by this one, but I just didn't see it all week. I'm gonna keep on the DB train. Sebastian Castro.
Oh yeah.
No,
he didn't do anything to help himself, and it's like, what had happened from? Why was the wool pulled over everybody's eyes this season in the games? And again, when we watch games, right, especially and safeties sometimes are the hardest ones to evaluate on a football field because they're not in on every single play, and you don't have those Kyle Hamilton type guys, so you can go in and say, like, I guess why I thought Quinyon Mitchell was such a miss for me is because he wasn't involved in the game a lot because he wasn't being passed to. And then his Senior Bowl, I seen him get, crashed out by a couple different guys like Dylan Lobby. And for me, that was like, I don't see what people see in Quinyon, which wasn't a very fair evaluation. And again, had to tweak the way that I saw people. But Sebastian Castro was practicing with the linebackers. He just was not honing in on plays like we've seen him do over the years. I don't know what it is about this guy, man. I mean, the film that we watched absolutely matched up with how his performance was at the Senior Bowl. It just wasn't a consistent motor that we're used to Cooper DeJean and Riley Moss and those guys being over the years. There was a kid that came out of there a couple years ago, the very first Senior Bowl that we were at. I forget the kid's name, something Mayweather. And I remember how we joked about him just being, wow, you played on such a good Iowa team and you're like the worst player that was on that defense. How'd you get an invite? Don't want to say Sebastian Castro's performance was that bad, but again, we're not evaluating the fallers based off of the game. We're evaluating them also on the way that we've seen them practice all week. Kayvon Merriweather, yep. So
yes, I Googled it, but I was like, this seems like it.
I just had to see, maybe the lights were too bright for him, but he looks small compared to everybody else too. I mean, he is damn near 5'9", 5'10", out there as well. I mean, he walked past me a couple times. I'm like, damn, you're tiny.
Well, and it's kind of funny because even Khalid can agree, and it was the same thing. Like, Another safety that we were talking about, well, granted we didn't watch film, but obviously, we had Billy Bowman, we had there was the Mason Taylor clip,
Yeah.
but the game, and Cleet can even, agree, game looked completely different. He looked completely different day 3. Apparently, he had an interception day 1 that we all missed, like one arm handed on the sideline. And then again, the game, he just looked completely different. So I don't know. Again, it just goes with some guys just aren't good practice guys.
And that could be it too. But like you really can't come into this draft and not have performed well in this game too.
Correct.
Especially, and his thing is you already know who he's going to be compared against. It's his former teammate Cooper DeJean. This is the guy that like was moving to nickel and playing nickel most of last year, and he's the guy that's going to be playing safety and not nickel like he probably wants to. It just, I don't know. I hate it for the kid. I hated that he had such a rough week too. Again, take what I say with a grain of salt. I was able to watch the game back, but I need to see more clips from that day 3 of practice. But for me, I was seeing him getting cooked by running backs all week, and the one-on-one drills was not fun to watch. I was pretty embarrassed for him, to be honest. And that's coming off a little harsh, but like, I was a big fan of Sebastro's last year. Or Sebastro. See, I did it again.
I know you did.
Sebastian
I walked
Castro.
by him and went, Sebastro.
I mean, I still think he could be a badass player when he really puts his mind to it, but I mean, he didn't really flash off the tape to me this year. So I don't know. I don't know where his draft stock's going to be. He's probably going to be a day 3 guy. I don't see him going undrafted, but I do see him being a day 3 guy at this point. Sore?
Yeah, mine. I was trying to think of somebody who obviously we needed a defensive faller, and one guy that I just kept looking back on was out of Arkansas, defensive lineman Landon Jackson. I can see, I see obviously all the intangibles, the talent, it's there. We've seen it. 6'7", 280 pounds. We know it's there. We know that he can be turned into a weapon. But day 1 and day 2, I think he maybe won 1 or 2 reps throughout the entirety of those 2 days. Mm-hmm. It just, maybe he just needs to go to the right team, the right scheme fit, get a coach that can, spend time developing him. Maybe is just a rotational guy for his first couple of years, and then eventually can make the jump. Maybe like what Milton Williams did. He didn't really explode out onto the scene until year 3, year 4. But
Sebastian Castro is Hispanic.
Yeah, he's Hispanic.
Damn.
I know a lot of people had this guy as like surprising, maybe a late first, early second.
Castro would be your that would be your hint.
I don't know, man. With Landon Jackson, I see day 3, or I see round 3, and then maybe falling into the 4th. I think this will be a guy that most people are just like, kind of like with what Moro Ojamo was, of how is he falling? Why is he falling? We don't know why Ojamo fell, but I feel like after this week's performance, in the game, he looked a bit better. He got a little bit closer, had a couple of pressures, but nothing. Yeah. Well, that's what I'm saying. He had that. So maybe it is just a bad practice guy, but day 1, day 2, day 3, man, he couldn't win any of the one-on-ones.
I still agree.
Was rough.
Like he had in my opinion, he had a phenomenal game. I mean, a strip sack on Jackson Dart. He blew up a draw play in the backfield. But yeah, I mean, I almost put him here as my faller
for Jackson Dart.
What?
Did they credit him that with Jackson Dart?
He was the only one who hit him. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
What play am I thinking? Okay, there was another play that I was thinking of that.
It was a play, and it was a play at the beginning of the 4th quarter, right?
No, it was Dart played in the second.
No, I think
quarter.
no. The one on Dart was like before halftime. It was a couple of minutes before halftime.
Dart only played in the second quarter of the game.
Okay, I think I'm thinking of it there, because there was definitely one that it was like, it looked like somebody else did it, but they credited the other, I thought, and then we watched it on the TV, and the angle completely whipped. That's why I was okay.
That was definitely Landon Jackson, but again, still, like, even though I thought he played a great game, I almost put him as my faller as well because sort of like you said, he was a fringe first round guy. Like, oh, if he has a good Senior Bowl, he could, go late first round. And I think with how he did in practices, I think I saw him win a single one-on-one. And other times
we're talking about like if he had a performance like what Shamar Stewart had, 100%, all doubt would be gone. He's a first.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Now we're sitting here going like,
I think
round 3.
I think round 3 is probably the spot because again, he looked massive, right? Teams are going to see the size and they're going to be like, I can do something with this kid.
I can fix him.
And I think it's a hands thing. He seems really slow with his hand movements, but he's got size. He's got great power. He just didn't use it well during the practices. So I think that
I just felt like he was very stiff. You know, he was very stiff on his moves and just, again, inconsistent.
Doesn't practice translate to game day? I'm confused. Nah, Bo Nix had a terrible.
Bo Nix had a terrible Senior Bowl.
It had a terrible Senior Bowl, and I was crying the whole time.
I can confirm he was.
And some people are just not good practice players. So I mean, literally hold this one with a grain of salt because making that play in the game is. But you got to put them as a. If we're talking about fallers, not everybody. We can't always use that excuse of. They're bad practice players because the thing that is going to be on the downside for Landon is the fact that he's not a quarterback. Yeah. So people, he's not going to be able to get that excuse. You know what I'm saying? You get to the NFL, you got to practice hard.
We're also sitting up here going like each and every one of these people that we have said is a faller is now going to go undrafted.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just they've just dropped a little bit than what they were projected to in the media's eyes, and also just in our eyes.
Dylan, my guy.
Also,
my guy.
I want you to know,
we was all there on the film study. We was like, yo, this dude Shamar Stewart gonna be a fucking monster, bro.
The second I saw like Myles Garrett requested
people
a trade,
love to watch
the first thing I did was like, well, Shamar Stewart's going to the Browns.
Dude,
people love to watch a box score, bro.
Bro, I'm all I'm saying is, Dylan, thank you. I was being called crazy. I'm like, nah, man, look at it. Myles Garrett stay or Myles Garrett go. They're gonna take an edge rusher because they're either going to need to pair someone with Myles Garrett or they're gonna need to replace
Myles Garrett.
And we
even said that during the mock.
We pulled that film study up, and everything that Khalid was on in every single game that he saw at Texas A&M was just like we could slow it down and reverse it. Oh yeah, this is definitely a beast.
Yeah, he's a game wrecker. He opens things up for so many other people, and he's in the right spot to make plays, even if it doesn't show up on the stat sheet. And that's why people who are box score watchers will tell you he shouldn't even sniff the first round because he only logged 4.5 sacks in his entire career.
Those are Travis Hunter jorkers, bro.
When you watch the tape, he blows things up. He's everywhere. He anchors the edge in the running game. He's able to blow things up in a pass rush, right? He has things to work on, right? He's far from a perfect prospect, but he has elite traits that you cannot.
He's going to be better than Abdul Carter.
I mean, let's also.
He'll be a better player in the NFL than Abdul Carter.
This is not to like diss on this, but let's be real. There's never a prospect that's a perfect prospect. Especially in this class, every single
Shamar
person
Stewart is just a Terminator.
Still has the Terminator. You said,
yeah. Did you see that?
How long I can hold this?
I'll tell you, the other dude that's an incredibly huge human being is Kyle Kennard, bro.
Yeah, he was big. I was like, oh, big.
So you got a thick ass neck, bro.
He's well built.
Yeah, bro.
Now
like all muscle.
Oh.